All right, we continue now with our great American panel. All right, one of the points I keep bringing up here tonight, Rich, I'll go to you on this, is there's a contradiction here because this is an advisory board is not by definition a job. Number one, it was not an administration official. It was Bill Clinton. And number three, this is not high ranking by anybody's standard.
Yeah, if this is the real story, Joe Sestak exaggerated in a contemptible way to make himself and this offer seem more important than it was. But he was on the spot. He had very little reason to shade the truth at the time and was asked if it was a high-ranking job. Not just that it was a job, that it was a high-ranking job, and he said yes, and he also referred to multiple conversations.
Let's roll this initial tape. In this first interview, this was back in February. I think this was worth airing again, with the host whose name is Larry Kane. It was a TV appearance that Sestak made. But watch this and listen very closely to Sestak's answers. Roll the tape.
Yes. You ever offered a federal job to get out of this race?
Yes.
Was it the Navy Secretary?
No comment.
Was there a job offered to you by the White House? That's what
yes. Someone offered.
Yeah. It was big, right?
It was. Let me not comment on it.
Yeah, but you're going all the way. You're not.
I'm in this all the way for the working family.
Job offer, White House, high ranking.
Well, who are the discussions with? We don't know who the discussion's with.
Oh, they're saying Clinton.
Well, we know Clinton, but if you go to the first line of the White House counsel's page-and-a-half whitewash of this today, he talks about discussions between White House staff and Congress.
This, to me, is the real issue.
Who is it?
The Clinton discussion, to me, is not really a big deal given politics.
Why?
Why? Because it was a hypothetical conversation about a low-ranking job. The real question, as Peter puts it, is what were the other conversations? Who were the high-ranking officials?
But they're all saying this is the story. They're not saying that any of the
This is very important. This is very important.
But you're admitting something that's very important as a Democrat. This is low-ranking. This is not something you'd offer somebody who wants to be a senator.
That's why the story is a murky one.
Well,
actually, if you had a choice,
if you had a choice
to be a congressman,
you think it's something else.
Well, I mean, this is a position to advise the presidency with regard to intelligence. No, wait a second.
If you have a choice,
is it about
there are 60 boards and commissions on NRO point.
I've been there. This story doesn't add up to the full story.
What board was it?
That's for sure.
If you have a choice between just being a congressman and being a congressman who serves on one of these boards, you would want to just be a congressman. You get nothing. You get no more prestige from being on this board. That's why the story doesn't add up, and that's why it's very important. Peter, you point this out implicitly. They could have said explicitly right in this memo that no paying job was ever offered. They do not say that. There's a huge loophole in here.
It doesn't have to be a paying job.
There's a huge loophole. They want to create the impression that the Clinton discussion was the only part of it. They want to create that impression, but they do not explicitly say that. It's very lawyerly.
That's an interesting
Newt was
point.
making this point
The
as well.
impression that's being created, though, is that you have this level of Tammany Hall, Chicago-style, roughhouse politics, where they go into the state of Pennsylvania not with some lower official, not even with Rham Emmanuel, but allegedly, and by confirmation now, with the former president of the United States. What kind of stakes are they playing with? What are they trying to do when they suck a former president into this?
But I have a different view. My view is that the larger question here is how is President Obama governing? You have in New York State 4 opponents to Kirsten Gillibrand who were muscled out of the race. You have the Colorado facts. But ultimately, is this a democracy? Are we having fair play and are we having open elections? That's the real question.
I want to go back to a point that I've made earlier tonight. Rod Blagojevich, this seems very eerily similar. Now, we have the allegation about Romanoff in the Denver case, which would, as you point out, Chicago-style politics, quid pro quo, pay to play, whichever terms you want to use here. But, you know, Jim Messina apparently went out there on the president's behalf and offered him a position.
Yeah, it's very unlikely that was an unpaid advisory position. And the problem here, we have an administration
was sent to be USAID, the foreign aid agency.
And Sean, the real question is, will the Obama administration politically, not legally, answer all of these questions? That, to me, is the real issue.
Are they going to be transparent and release all the emails and phone logs? Never going to happen.
No, this is about keeping that from happening.
Peter, last word.
You need a prosecutor. You need a prosecutor.
Will we get one, or will it take a Republican Congress?
I think you will get one.
You do?
Because I think the pressure that builds up on this White House over time will demand.
Peter, before
is
we
there
get to a
any
prosecutor,
chance-
we should have disclosure.
Is there any chance this becomes a major problem? Real quick, yes or no?
It is a major problem.
Major problem?
If you get people under oath, then it's a major problem.
We
Major
got to
We're
see
gonna try
what
to
the
stop that.
documents say and what's there before we see if
you're
it's
not gonna
more
get
than
that
just.
absence
predicting
of
a cloud
prosecutor.
is hanging over the presidency. Between this and oil, he's in trouble. Guys, that's
And
all.
oil's more serious, Sean.